Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Alumni Career Management session on LinkedIn, common mistakes and how to correct them. In this particular session, we're going to walk through some of the common mistakes that we see people making on their LinkedIn profiles and give you some tips and tricks that you can enable right now to ensure that you're not making these mistakes, and if you are, you know how to correct them. This is a great way to be able to help you build a profile that perhaps isn't completely built out yet, or if you have already achieved all-star status on your profile, perhaps correct and enhance some of the areas of your profile that maybe you didn't even consider. So I want to thank you for your time in advance. My name is Perry Monaco. I am a strategic product consultant with LinkedIn, and I'm also a graduate of Western University with a BA in history, graduating in 2000. So let's get started. The first mistake that I see quite often is people that either don't have a profile photo or they have a poor profile photo. You want to remember that LinkedIn is a professional networking site, and really this is an opportunity for you to be able to be making a first impression with individuals that you want to be networking with that can help you accomplish your goals. Having a profile photo is very, very important, remembering that having profile photos means that our profile is 7 times more likely to be viewed, and obviously we want our profile to be viewed, otherwise people aren't going to be able to know how to help us. The top row here, you'll notice that there are 4 real-life examples of profile photos that I have seen, and there's definitely varying degrees of inappropriateness, I would suggest, of these particular photos. Not necessarily offensive in any way, of course, but I think from a professional networking perspective, this isn't necessarily something that I would recommend. Now, the first one, this gentleman here with the scuba mask on, perhaps that would work if he is a scuba instructor. However, I would suggest that I don't really know who this person is. I'd like to know a little bit more about the actual individual, and the fact that you're wearing a scuba mask doesn't necessarily tell me anything other than to prove the fact that you have one of these particular masks. You'll also notice in the second photo here that I can't really identify who this gentleman is. He's definitely, I would guess, someone who's involved in the recording industry or the music industry, given that he has a microphone and a guitar here. But again, it doesn't give me a good idea of who this actual individual is. The third one I think is pretty obvious. I wouldn't necessarily want somebody who I'm networking with in a professional sense to know what I'm doing on the weekend. And in this last example, it's certainly, she's got the right idea here, but the picture is not clear. There's definitely too much flash. It doesn't give me the opportunity to really know who this person is or get a good impression. I think the bottom row here, again, you'll notice that there are varying degrees of professionalism in the sense that it looks like the third one and the last one perhaps are professional photographs, but I think the first two of the woman and the gentleman in black and white, I think those two, while it doesn't look like they're taken by a professional photographer, certainly give off the same type of professional image. And so I really like these ones on the bottom row here because they do have, I do have the opportunity here to sort of look at these pictures and feel engaged with the person. They're definitely people that I would want to work with. You'll notice that in all of these photos, there's varying degrees of a smile. A smile goes a long way to engaging your audience. These are really, really great photos, and I think this is something that we would want to strive for. Remember that this photo should be professional in nature. It's definitely something that you want to take advantage of in a professional networking environment. And so you want to have a headshot, I think, that has a little bit of a light background with a natural smile. I don't necessarily want to see a full body shot. I certainly don't want to see people with their pets or their children. You also want to avoid corporate logos in your photo. I would recommend that you don't wear excessive jewelry, sunglasses, fancy landscapes in the background, et cetera, and make sure that you have a photo that I can recognize you when I actually meet with you. So this really is an extension of your personality. This should be an accurate representation of the type of person that I'm actually going to be meeting with when I actually do meet you in person. The second mistake that I think people make is that they either have a very vague or an incomplete professional headline. Your headline is the area just below your name that by default will have your job title and your current employer. That, I think, is a real loss of opportunity when people keep it at the default, because remember that your job title and your current employer, or your past employer for that matter, is already located on your profile just below your headline. And so you're actually duplicating information that's already there. You're using up valuable real estate by duplicating information, which I don't think is something that you're really taking advantage of. So what you actually want to do is think about your headline as that value proposition. You want to think of your headline as the opportunity for you to be able to deliver a marketing statement to somebody who is visiting your profile. So make it a precise, powerful statement. Make yourself memorable. Try and be exciting. Try and be creative. This isn't necessarily an easy thing to do, so you may have to enlist the help of some friends or colleagues as you brainstorm and come up with the ideal headline. But you want to make sure that you let people know what it is that you're trying to achieve. If you are a job seeker and you're trying to find a new opportunity, then it's okay to let people know that in your headline, but also let them know exactly what it is that you're looking for, or some of the skills and soft skills that you can offer them in a new opportunity with that organization. So there's lots of things here that we can take advantage of. And you'll notice here the gentleman on the right tells me that he's a COO and managing director, but he's also building high-performing sales teams that align with corporate vision. Again, it's not just telling me what it is that he does, it tells me a little bit about the philosophy that he brings to his business. You also notice here on the left-hand side that this woman is a director of public relations and marketing, which is great, not very exciting in terms of creativity, but she then tells me that she likes to raise the visibility and awareness by creating strategic partnerships and encourages me to read on. These can be really powerful for you. Again, this can be one of the first things that people see on your profile and can really drive people to the rest of the message that you have available for us on your profile. The third mistake is that people don't put enough effort or energy into making their summary exciting or compelling. Your summary statement really is the opportunity for you to be able to talk about who you are as an individual and the value that you bring to whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish using LinkedIn. Many people will take their resume, copy and paste sort of the overall objective or profile that they would include at the top of their resume and make that their summary statement. I don't think that that is really a good use of this particular space here. This is not a resume, this is a profile, and I think that your profile can be written in the first person. I think that this can be a really valuable tool for you to be able to use the word I and be able to inject some of your own style, your own personality. Let me know who you are as an individual, where you've been, what you're doing now, where you want to go, and don't be afraid to sprinkle in some personal attributes there as well. Again, remembering that our profile really is the first step to engaging the people that we want to engage with, and this could be the opportunity for us to break the ice. And sometimes those little personal tidbits can be really helpful in doing that. Maybe you've run marathons before. Maybe you are active in your community in some way. Maybe you've accomplished something that's really unique. Maybe you've climbed Mount Everest. All these types of things would be really helpful for me to be able to see in your profile. It keeps it interesting. And remember, this is really, if you want to think about it in another way, your summary can be really an extension of your value proposition and make it much more of an elevator pitch type of scenario. This is an opportunity for you to be able to use keywords that your target audience would search to find you, and also keep them excited and interested in you because you're using the keywords that they understand. Keeping it conversational is really, really important. Make sure that you avoid those cliche words. You can Google search some of the most overused words in a LinkedIn profile. It's a survey that LinkedIn does every single year, and so you maybe want to stay away from some of those overused words, excuse me. Make sure that you do have a format. Sometimes the easiest way to construct your summary statement is to think about it in 3 paragraphs. The first paragraph is tell me about who you are. Introduce yourself. make people understand that you are an interesting person. The second one would be perhaps talk about who they are, the people who are visiting your profile. Who do you help? Talk about your target client, but make sure that you're subtle here. This isn't necessarily something that you want to come across as a salesy. And then talk about what it is that you have to offer. That could be your third paragraph. Don't give away everything here. Just talk about what you mainly do, how people can benefit from it, et cetera, et cetera. And then finally, maybe you want to include 1 or 2 lines here about something that's relevant in your personal life that you think would be interesting as an icebreaker. The fourth mistake then, after we've taken the time to build a nice headline, create a summary that tells us about who you are and what you have to offer, sometimes people then forget that you can actually include details of the various experience that you have listed on your profile for each specific role. So this is really where you can drill down specifically on what you were able to accomplish in each of the individual roles now that you list on LinkedIn, both current and past. This is an opportunity that you have here to also tell the story about how you got to where you were. Sometimes when you look at a resume, you don't always see how someone has gone from A to C. That B in between isn't always right there for someone to grasp. And this is an opportunity for you to be able to fill in some of those gaps. Speaking of gaps, for those of you who have had a gap in your career, maybe you took some time off to have some children, or you had a particular break in your career for whatever reason. Maybe you were laid off, maybe there was an illness, maybe there was a particular reason that you had time off or to travel. There's all sorts of reasons why we have gaps, and unfortunately on our resumes, we don't always have the opportunity or the space for that matter to be able to explain that. I think on LinkedIn you've got the opportunity to be able to really explain those particular gaps and be able to let people know why it is that you had those gaps. So tell me about your career path. Make sure that it always speaks towards your professional image. And again, remember, this is an opportunity here for you to be able to tailor your message and make sure that the message is clear and how this message can then relate back to your overall goal. It also allows people to find you a lot easier. The more times that you indicate where you used to work, the longer you go back in your history, the easier it is for somebody to be able to find you if they're a past colleague. So make sure that you're completing this section in full. Make sure that you are including all of your experience, and make sure that you're including details about your experience, focusing on your successes, focusing on your accomplishments, but also using common language to let me know about what it is that you did. Sometimes a title doesn't tell the whole story, and I need you to tell me exactly what your role was in a way that I can understand. Mistake number 5 is not including skills or experience in your profile. We give you the opportunity here to be able to list a number of skills that are relevant to your profile. Up to 50 skills are available for you here, and these are an opportunity here for you to be able to showcase your core strengths as a professional, and then obviously individuals can go ahead and endorse you for these particular skills. This can be really, really powerful for you to be able to highlight some of the skills that you want highlighted and perhaps leave off some skills that you know you have but aren't necessarily ones that you want to highlight in your professional profile. Because you can have up to 50 skills, it really is up to you as to which ones you want to include. You certainly don't have to have 50, but make sure that you do target your strengths. Make sure that the list is consistent with your professional image, and make sure that you're prioritizing the skills and experience that you wish to mention. You have the ability to rank order these particular skills in your profile, and you can do that by going into the Edit Profile function. Obviously, because this is our professional profile and this is our professional identity of record online, we want to make sure that we're not faking anything here, that we're not over-exaggerating some of the skills that perhaps we want to have but we don't currently have. So make sure that the skills that you have here are focusing on strengths that you can demonstrate. The sixth mistake that I find that some people have is that they don't include recommendations on their profile. These are really, really important, and they can be extremely powerful. Imagine I'm visiting your profile and I don't know who you are, but you have a particular skill set or a particular experience that I think would be valuable to me, or I have the ability to be able to work with you perhaps to make both of our lives a little bit better and easier. Perhaps you're offering a product or a service that can help me accomplish my goals and in turn also accomplish your goals. But if your profile just tells me how great you are in some of your accomplishments without any third parties backing you up on that, I might be, less inclined to reach out to you because there isn't anyone there that is suggesting that they've worked with you in the past. Recommendations give you the opportunity to add to your professional image by letting viewers know what other professionals who've worked with you actually think about you. This gives you the opportunity to appear more credible and back up what you say about yourself. Recommendations that you also give impact your credibility, so you want to make sure that you're careful and honest when you recommend others. One of the things that I know people perceive about recommendations is that if you have a lot of recommendations or you've given a lot of recommendations, then somehow they lose a little bit of value, so you want to be considerate of that. You also want to make sure that if you are recommending a friend or a colleague that you know quite well, that they don't turn around and recommend you on the same day or, within 5 minutes of one another. That can sometimes take away from the credibility of the recommendation itself. I find recommendations are best when they are organic, when people really want to give a recommendation and they're not solicited. So try and if you're just starting out, you might have to solicit some of these, but I find the best way to get a recommendation is to give a recommendation. Don't be afraid to ask for one from those who you know well, maybe a mentor or an employee who you've worked with closely, or somebody who you know would be helpful and would be able to offer a genuine recommendation. But remember too that you can also give out recommendations, and many times that initial response is that they would also then offer you a recommendation. You also want to make sure that your recommendations are specific. So make sure that you ask the person to recommend you for something specific that you worked on together. Make sure that if you are asking for recommendations, they understand why, they understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, so they can focus in on a particular aspect of your relationship and not just be very, very vague. I find that that's when recommendations, again, can also lose some credibility when they just comment about how great of a working relationship that you have. You want to make sure that you understand that you can manage your recommendations. You can keep them relevant to your current work profile. So if perhaps down the road a recommendation doesn't make sense to be there anymore, or you don't want to have it visible, you can always remove that recommendation from your public profile. It's still on record, but only you would be able to see that. And of course, as with anything else, make sure that you're thoughtful when you're recommending others. Again, thinking about LinkedIn as an extension of what we would do in real life. A genuine real-life compliment certainly means a lot more than one that seems as though is one that we didn't necessarily want to give in the first place. Mistake number 7 is having excessive or irrelevant group memberships. We want to make sure that while we can join up to 50 groups, we also take advantage of the fact that the 50 groups that we do join, or up to the 50 groups that we do join, are relevant. Remember that for the most part, group membership is public. You can certainly turn off this functionality, but for the most part, people keep that open. And so when I visit your profile, I notice that you're a member of a whole bunch of different groups, but there really isn't any focus, or perhaps there's a couple of groups in there that just don't make any sense, or perhaps they're a little bit silly, and that doesn't necessarily play in with my overall strategy or my style. Then we want to make sure that we don't lose that credibility by joining groups that aren't relevant. So make sure that we're participating in groups and joining groups that are relevant. It can increase our credibility and our visibility when we join the right groups. And so when people are viewing our profile, they can see that we are genuine and passionate about the particular industry or subject matter in which we are an expert. So we want to make sure that we stick to what's relevant and we control our visibility. So we're strategic in deciding which group memberships we want to showcase on our profile. We only join groups that are relevant to us and our goals. We participate in relevant discussions and share expertise to increase our visibility, and we're positive in our outlook and constructive in approach. So make sure that those group memberships make sense to both you and to the people who are viewing your profile. Before we end, let's talk about some additional elements of your LinkedIn profile that I think are really important and that sometimes people don't spend enough time with. So I know that this slide is a little bit busy, and I apologize for that, but bear with me here as we talk about some of the elements of your profile that I think you have the ability to customize and make sure that you, again, appear even more credible than you already do. The first is making sure that you understand that you can customize your public profile URL. You have the ability to create a URL that will link directly to your profile. So when you're creating business cards or your resume or your email signature or any other type of public media that you're going to be displaying to individuals or handing out to individuals, people can, instead of going to linkedin.com and then having to type in your name, in my particular case, if you go to linkedin.com/in/Perry Monaco, you have the ability to go directly to my profile. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Just go directly to my profile. And I want to drive as many people to my profile as possible because I want to make people aware of what it is that I do, and hopefully there's someone out there that can help make me accomplish my goals. The area of the profile URL that I customize there is obviously at the end, /Perry Monaco. If you look at your public profile URL right now, everyone has one, but the default isn't friendly. The default is a series of numbers and letters that don't mean anything to anybody and doesn't look overly attractive when you put it on those public media outlets that you're going to be displaying to other individuals. So go ahead and customize that URL. The most common, obviously, is first name, last name, but if it's already taken, you can choose another variant. Or perhaps I wanted to, highlight the fact that I am an alum of Western University, so maybe I say Perry at Western or Western Perry, whatever the case may be. There's all sorts of different ways in which you can leverage your public profile URL to make it seem more exciting to the individual. The next thing that I want to talk about is connections. You want to make sure that you are connecting with the right people. It's not about the quantity of connections. It really is about the quality. I don't care if you have 50 connections, 500 connections, or 5,000 connections. What I care more about are who those connections are. Thinking about LinkedIn, again, as that real-life scenario where you're at an event or you're at a party or you're at work. Who are the people that you're surrounded with? Who are the people that are there? Those are the people that are going to help you accomplish your goal, and that's what's most important. So I don't care, again, about the number. I care about who you're actually connected with. So think very thoughtfully about who you're connecting with and why you're actually connecting with them. You also have the ability on your profile to link to different websites, up to 3 in fact. So perhaps you want to drive people back to your company page or your company's career page. Maybe you want to link back to a blog. Perhaps you're a creative individual and you have a portfolio that you want to direct people to or redirect people to. Maybe you want to drive people to your Twitter page. There's all sorts of different places online that maybe we want people to go to once they find us on LinkedIn, and you've got the ability to go ahead and leverage that using your profile and sharing your websites with them. You also have the ability to take advantage of some of the other sections of your profile that we didn't go into a lot of detail here, but can be really, really relevant to those of you who are listening to this particular session. You have the ability to go ahead and include some volunteer experience and causes. You can highlight some of the certifications that you have, the honors and awards that you've won over time, perhaps some patents that you have associated with yourself, particular projects that you've worked on that you want to highlight separately from what you do day to day in your work. And so there's lots of opportunities here for us to be able to take advantage of those different sections on our profile. So be curious, take advantage of them, search them out, and these can be really, really helpful for you. And then finally, you want to make sure that as a Western alum that you're indicating that you went to Western University and any other education that you've accomplished after your time at Western. Perhaps you've done a master's or a PhD. Maybe you've gone on to do a different degree or another degree. There's all sorts of different things here that can allow you to, again, leverage your post-secondary education, and it also makes people easier to find you as well. And obviously, we want to be found in a networking environment in which there are tons of people there that can help us achieve our goals. So with that, I'm going to end today's session. Hopefully this was helpful for you. There are certainly lots of common mistakes that people do make on their profile, and remember that your profile won't be perfect the first time around. In fact, your profile may never be perfect, but if you follow and correct some of the mistakes that we highlighted here today, your profile will be a lot more powerful, and you'll be one step closer to achieving your goals on LinkedIn. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to talking to you again. Bye-bye.